Hello, I'm Ariam, and this is my series wrap-up for March and April because I keep on forgetting to do series wrap-ups. So, in March, I started some, continued a lot, and finished a lot, but that's because I read a lot of books. In April, there will be less. But let's start with what I started in March. So the first thing I started was The Stolen Heir duology by Holly Black, and I thought this was a continuation of a series because it's a continuation series of a different series she wrote. Oh my god, I always forget the name of that series. Something Elfhame, Fae of the Elfhame, something like that. Anyways, because it's a continuation of a series, I cannot say much about what this duology is about. Basically, you have these two Fae, who for one reason or another have lived in the human world, and now one of them is trying to convince the other to join him in order to get something back that he really wants, while convincing her to try to get something back that she really wants. And they go on this, epic, dangerous journey. So I did enjoy this duology. You will see that I also finished this duology later. Not my favorite duology ever, and I think I liked the original trilogy better, but I did enjoy it. The next series I started was The Last Herald Mage by Mercedes Lackey. This, which I actually have a whole vlog on. But the first book in this trilogy is Magic's Pawn. So this trilogy is another continuation of a series that I read a long time ago, and I've read many series in the same world, but unfortunately this series is one that my library didn't have, and yet is very important to my library growing up didn't have, and yet is very important to understanding a lot of the other books that happen in this world. So I always felt like that something was kind of missing. I didn't even understand stuff from the wiki. Now, I didn't end up really liking the series. I am glad I read it just because of having that information, but I did not like the series. It's maybe one of my least favorite things this author has written. I really liked her stuff. The next series I started, series I knew I was starting, which is the Gabriella McBride series. And the first book is Gabriella by Tessa E. Harris. Now, this isn't a Girl of the Year series. There's this publishing group called American Girl, and each year they make books and a doll and some clothing for the doll and whatever. They have a different girl. So this is 2017 Girl of the Year. I really enjoyed this book. I thought it was very good. The other two books, I believe, are written by different authors. Like, there are 3 books. It's a trilogy, but each book is written by a different author. But I am excited to read it, because I was kind of disappointed. I thought there was only this book, and I was kind of disappointed that it's only one book. So now I'm glad that there are others. Okay, so that's everything I started in March. Then we go to everything I continued. So, I continued Djinn City series by Saad E. Hossein. Now, the book I read to continue it was Djinn City, which is actually technically the first book in the series, but this isn't a series that you necessarily have to read in order. I would recommend the reading in order, in chronological order of when the events happen, but before this, I read other stuff in the series. So, basically the series happens, this is the only book which happens in around our time. By now it's already in the past, and all of the other books happen in the future, but it's basically a sci-fi fantasy series. You have Djinn, but it's very much concentrated on the sci-fi of how they work, and it's an extremely interesting series. A lot of the books are written in different styles as well. He's a good writer. I would highly recommend this series. Next series I continued is Magic Treehouse Merlin Missions by Mercedes Lackey, by Mary Pope Osborne, illustrated by Sal Murdoka. So the book I read for this one is Soccer on Sunday, where our main characters go back in time to the World Cup where Pele won. I really loved it. This was probably my favorite book in the whole series. Anyways, it was great. The next series I continued was one I've already mentioned, which is the Last Herald Mage series. I read the second book, which is Magic's Promise. Then I continued the Cecilia and Kate series by Patricia C. Reed and Caroline Stervemeyer, I believe, which is the Grand Tour or the Portland Coronation Jewels. This is a trilogy, and this was my least favorite of the trilogy. I really liked the first book. I really liked the last book. I did not like this book. Next, we go to the series I completed. So the first series I completed in March was Trials of Apollo series by Rick Riordan. And the last book in that series is The Tower of Nero. This is, again, it's a continuation series, but I'm sure you all know that. We start with Percy Jackson, and then there are the Olympians, and then there's the Heroes of Olympus series, and then there's this series, The Trials of Apollo. So basically, Zeus decides to punish Apollo by sending him to be a human. And there are these evil Roman emperors trying to take over the world. And he basically sets off to defeat them with a snarky 11-year-old and who's also super annoying. And it's a good series. I like it. It's definitely one of my more favorite series by Rick Riordan. Next series I finished was Hearville by Barry Deutsch. And the last book in that series is How Mirka Caught a Fish. And this is actually a reread for me, but for some reason they published the series as, like, they talk about the series as if you don't need to read it in order, and you do. So I read this book first, and then I realized, and I went back and read the first two books and then read this book, so that's what I'm counting as completed series. This is a graphic novel series about Mirka, who is a religious Haredi Jewish girl who basically she really wants to encounter magic. Obviously she doesn't call it magic, but like she really wants to go fight dragons, trolls, etc. And it's about her adventures actually doing these things, but it's also about like her kind of growing up not growing up as in she's 11 in the whole series, but growing up internally, becoming more responsible. Like she's still 11, she's becoming more responsible, and also her relationship with her sisters and her stepmother and her little brother. I really like the series. So super good, super good. Next, I finished rereading the Ramona Quimby series by Beverly Cleary. The last book in the series is Ramona's World. This is probably my least favorite in the series, but this is still such a good series. I should absolutely go read it. It started in the 60s, and finished writing in the 90s about this girl named Ramona. It's just about her life, and it's really great, and I love her, and you should absolutely go read it. The next series I finished is the Cecilia and Kate series. I read The Mislaid Magician, or 10 Years After. So this series is an epistolary series. The first and last books are Cecilia and Kate, who are cousins writing letters to each other. The second book has diary entries from Kate and what do you call it when you have someone write something for a court of law, but to like put into so they could read it out loud as part of the witnesses. I'm not sure, but anyways, that's what they had for Cecilia. But basically this series happens in Regency, England, and you have these two cousins who just kind of encounter magic. Now, magic is like a thing in this universe. It's kind of like physics is in our universe. Like it's respected, but it's kind of considered scholarly. And they just kind of get into all kinds of adventures with magic, and it's really fun. I really liked it. Especially the first and last books, not so much the second. Now we're moving on to April. April, I said I read less, so there are less things. Okay, so I only started one series in April, yay! And that is The Memoirs of Lady Trent by Marie E. Brennan. Or Marie Brennan. I don't know why it's stuck in my head the name is Marie E. Brennan. It's Marie Brennan. So the first book in that series is National History of Dragons. And this is just pre-Victorian series. I believe it continues into the Victorian era. She's writing the books in 1900. And basically it's this woman and again, it's a world, it's alternate history. There's magic in the world. It's a known thing. And she is obsessed with dragons. And she's always been obsessed with dragons since her childhood. And she eventually becomes this famed naturalist who studies them. And the series is like the memoirs of her studying the dragons. I really liked it. Not my favorite book of all time, but definitely I really liked it. Okay, next I have 3 series that I continued. The first one is Djinn City by Saad Z. Hossein again. I read Cybermage, which for this one, like I said, you don't have to necessarily read this series in chronological order, except for Cybermage, which you do have to read after Djinn City. You cannot read it without reading Djinn City. But otherwise, you could read the series out of chronological order. This is probably my least favorite book in this series, besides the one I DNF'd. However, that does not mean I don't like it. I DNF'd the book I DNF'd in the series. I DNF'd it because it just wasn't for me, but I do like the series a lot, and I really enjoyed this book too. Okay, next, I continued the Shopaholic series by Sophie Kinsella and read Shopaholic and Baby. which I liked. Like, it's not, oh my god, this book, none of the series is like, oh my god, this book is going to make me astonished. But it's a good series, it's fun. You want something light and good to read, it's fun. Okay, next series, I again continued the Magic Treehouse Merlin Mission series and read Shadow of the Shark, which I did not enjoy. And then we have I completed 2 series. I read The Stolen Heir by Holly Black. I continued the Stolen Heir series by Holly Black. I completed it. With second book in that is The Prisoner's Throne. And then I completed also the Last Herald Mage series by Mercedes Lackey, and the last book in that is Magic's Price. So overall, let's see. In March, I started 3 series, continued 4, and completed 1, 2, 3, 4. Also completed 4. One of those was ones that I continued from that month. Then in April, I started only 1, I continued 3, and I completed 2. So overall, I think that's pretty good, especially considering I did not know Gabriella McBride was a series. I thought I'd only started 2, but I started 3. But overall, pretty good, and I'm happy with that.